So now we come to a new feature that we came up with yesterday, which is at the end of every month, we want to talk about the 5 coolest pieces of stuff, photo stuff.
Photo stuff, yes.
And I mean, I hesitate to call it like the 5 best pieces of gear. It's not supposed to be a best feature. That's not the intent of this. It's just stuff, photo stuff that caught our eye that we thought had like a coolness factor to it.
Oh man, look, we're already defending ourselves.
I know, we have to, because people are going to be like, well, what about this and what about that? And that's the selection. You know, anytime you put out a list, you obviously run the risk of excluding something, either because you're ignorant or because you didn't think it should be on the list.
Right.
And everybody's obviously entitled to their opinion, and this is all this is. It's our opinion of 5 cool things, or as they say in France, très Brooklyn. Apparently is a colloquialism for cool. So this is très Brooklyn.
Wow, I love that.
Ah, what's up with that? Yeah.
I love it.
I was busting out some French. I don't really speak French, but that's okay. So starting off with number 5, and these are in no particular order. Starting off with number 5, the Filson. Filson is a long time old school bag maker that has, like, you know, any brand that's been around for like over 75 years. Immediately nowadays it has a story.
Oh yeah.
And a heritage and whatnot. And Filson, you know, they make luggage and all this kind of stuff, and they decided we need to make the world's best camera bag. So they created what they're calling the Filson Magnum in coordination with Magnum, the photo collective. And they got 2 of our friends, David Allen Harvey and Steve McCurry, to consult on this bag. And from what I read yesterday, May 1st, the Filson launched a flagship store in New York City, and they released this bag. Well, it was available for viewing, although it's not going to be available for purchase until later this summer.
Ah, I was trying to look in the bag.
Yeah, I know. I can't see.
But it looks very durable, and Filson, you know, they're known for that. So.
And both Steve and David were saying, you know, you don't want it to look like a camera bag, because obviously then it's a target for theft, etc. And then you don't want to be identified as a photographer. But it needs to be very weatherproof, and there's got to be a lot of accessible pockets that's easily compartmentalizable, because we have a lot of stuff that we need to put in there. Yeah. So there's a coolness fact. Come on, Steve McCurry and David Allen Harvey. Come on.
It's very cool. It's very cool. We're it's high maintenance, our needs as photographers for our bags. Yeah.
I did speak to David Allen Harvey at a workshop last year, and he's like, I have so many bags.
Oh, really?
You know, like a closet full of bags. And I think photographers, in addition to being sort of gear whores, they just love photo bags. It's like every new photo bag they got to try out.
Yeah, they're all bag ladies.
Yeah.
All these guys.
Number 2, the Sony Alpha A7S. Well, Sony obviously has been really killing it on the innovation front. You've heard me talk more than once about my RX1, which I love. But they also came out with the A7 about 6 months ago, which was a removable lens system, ILC system, interchangeable lens system, mirrorless, etc. The A7S came out last month. The thing shoots 4K video.
Wow.
And has a sensor that can go up to that ISO 409,000, like the Nikon D4S. So 4K video, and the thing is tiny. Man, I mean, if I had a need to shoot 4K video, then this would be a pretty cool thing. It is a pretty cool thing. And I saw a guy when I was in Paris and I was eating at this fancy restaurant. This guy had not this camera but an A7 to take his food photos. So they're out there. They're like nice and compact. I think particularly if you're like a food blogger type person, these smaller ILC based cameras are so much nicer than walking into a fancy restaurant with a ginormous DSLR.
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
It doesn't work. No.
Unwieldy, looks weird. You know, people are trying to enjoy their meal, and you're motoring at 10 frames per second. Not cool. Not cool.
Not cool.
The next one. So when I was a kid, Sigma did not have a good reputation as a lens manufacturer. Sigma had a reputation of being cheap. So when you
Mhm.
were a kid like me in high school and you wanted like a lens, you'd get the Sigma because you couldn't afford the Canon or the Nikon.
Mhm.
And I guess at some point in the past 2 or 3 years, they said, you know what, this is crazy. We're Sigma. We need to make some nice stuff. So they came out with the Art line of lenses. And one of the first ones that they came out with was the 35mm f1.4 lens for both Canon and Nikon, which outperformed Nikon and Canon's lenses by the DxO lens mark test. And this was the highly anticipated 50mm f1.4 DG HSM A that came out. So the class is Art.
Oh wow, yeah, I've shot with Sigmas. That mine too. Those are my first lenses. But I love 50 millimeter. I've had the Canon Nifty 50, which is the 1.8, not as good. So maybe I'll upgrade, and instead of doing Canon, maybe I'll get this Sigma.
Maybe you should check it out. Maybe you should rent it before you buy.
Yeah, rent
A
before I
lot
buy.
of options there.
Rent before you buy. Hashtag I love photo.
Yeah, this is not an inexpensive lens, by the way. You know, any good glass is obviously going to be expensive. This is a $949 50mm f1.4
Hmm.
1.4 lens. But from everything that we've heard, they're maintaining the quality that they had with the 35mm lens, and looks pretty cool. Hope to try one out soon. Number 4 on the list of 5 coolest things that happened in April, the Pentax 645Z. Now, there's something cool about medium format, number 1. And we've seen a lot of photographers, David Hobby being one, Zach Arias being another, who have eschewed their 35mm stuff and moved over to medium format because the quality is just that much better. The bit depth is better, the image size is better, etc. Peter Yang, who we love as well, shooting all medium format stuff. The problem with medium format historically has been it's very expensive.
Right.
I think the Hasselblad H5 or H4 or whatever they have out now, it's like $40,000 for that system.
Yeah, just ridiculous.
It's a lot of money. So it totally makes sense if you're shooting commercial stuff and you rent it and you write it off to the client. A little hard to justify when you're a amateur shooter.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even if you're a rich amateur shooter, I don't know, $40,000 is a lot of money. The Pentax 645Z is coming in. What was the price on that? Like $8,000?
8,000?
Something
Yeah,
like that.
something like that.
Kind of cool. Now 645. I shot Hasselblad. It's my medium format, and I shot some Mamiya. So 6.6, 6.7. That's kind of I like that. 645, not my favorite aspect ratio, but it's sort of like 35mm. So who's going to complain about that? Big sensor. I don't know what they put on. What was it, like a 40 or 50 megapixel sensor on this thing?
I don't know.
More pixels than you need.
More pixels than you need. We haven't talked really about Pentax much. I haven't heard that name
Yeah.
been thrown around in a while. So
Yeah.
this is interesting that they're coming in with this.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, again, I'm curious to try all of this stuff because it is on our list of 5 coolest Trey Brooklyn pieces of gear.
Trey Brooklyn, yeah.
Well, we started the broadcast talking about New 55. And we talked about how much we love this large format photography. And I don't know, there's just a quality. And you look at like David Burnett's stuff or Guy Rhodes' stuff from the Sochi Olympics. It just looks lovely. It's just big. There's imperfections. There's like vignetting on this stuff, but there's just a quality to film, and particularly with large format I don't know if it's necessarily the bokeh, but there's something about the optics of large format that look cool. There's a real separation for me when I look at it between foreground and background elements that you just can't get from smaller format photography. So the last piece of the coolest equipment, going back to this 4x5, is this camera called the Wanderlust. And This thing is just cool. It's $149. Doesn't include the lens. $149 plus shipping. Look at this thing. It's a 4x5 travel camera. Now, Graflex was like a travel, for 4x5 was pretty much kind of a travel size camera. But this thing is tiny. So the film cassette, the film holder slides in the back of that thing. So I don't know, maybe you'll be able to use a Polaroid on that. I don't know, it's probably too thin to use a Polaroid, but
well, that is kind of the question, because $149 is totally affordable.
Totally affordable.
But like, how much are these lenses going to run for you?
Well, I'm sure they're expensive, but on eBay you could probably get. I mean, if you're not going for the best quality lens in the world, you're probably get a used lens for, I don't know, $500, $500,000, right?
Okay.
Shipping in the summer, and then they shot, these photos in Brazil. Look at that. Look at this photo.
Bring it up. Bring it up.
How do I bring this up? Oh, I wasn't even sharing the screen there.
No.
So there's this shot off of what do they call it? Pau Doce. I was just in Brazil, so I should know this. And you can see the Flickr gallery for more photos. There's this, it's off of a prototype camera, so there's some imperfections in the photos, but I want to show people again this camera system. Like,
yeah,
it's the tiniest, coolest little thing in the world.
It is super portable. Yeah, weighs 9.7 ounces. Like,
so
nothing.
For $149, granted you have to get the lens, that's doable. I might actually get that.
I'd borrow that. I would ask to borrow that.
But the other thing to be aware of, and not to poo-poo our own cool list, but loading 4x5, you got to have a changing bag. Because let's assume like the holder doesn't look big enough it doesn't look like a spring-loaded holder that you would use to put a Polaroid back in there. Hopefully I'm wrong. But if I'm not, then what you need to do is get a changing bag. You need to buy 4x5 sheet film. You need to get a bunch of holders. You got to load them up back and front. You got to put them in your new Filson bag because you're going to need a lot of camera bag space to hold them. You got to carry a light meter with you. To develop film, if you don't have your darkroom anymore, because everybody doesn't have a darkroom anymore, I think developing film, a 4x5 sheet in New York is about $2 to $3 per sheet. So it's not an inexpensive proposition, but nobody said photography was ever cheap.
No, but I do wonder if this price point, this $149 price point, is going to fool anybody, into buying it. Like, oh, this is really cheap, and then they get it and they realize, oh wait, I gotta get all the film and I gotta get the lens and
you got the newest Epson printer for $149, but your consumable costs are like $1,000 a year.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Damn you, Wanderlust camera! Why did you do that to us?
So tricky.
We didn't talk about the weather at the top of the show.
No.
That would have been the first time ever, but it is a lovely day. Tomorrow also, this whole weekend's going to be lovely. Another great week for photography.
Yep.
And seeing a lot of people out in New York City. So again, if you want to start that everyday New York City, no one's stopping you.
Do it.
If you want to, maybe I should register and then sell that Instagram handle. Is that a thing yet?
I don't know. It should be. Yeah.
Well, that's it for another week. I just want to say one more shout out to our Brooklyn Nets, who are in a playoff game of their life. Nobody cares except for me. I'm a huge Brooklyn Nets.
That's very Trey Brooklyn. Trey Brooklyn?
Totally Trey Brooklyn.
Totally Trey Brooklyn.
But Sarah, good to see you again.
Thank you. Good to see you too. We're glad you're back.
Another great show. We'll have a lot more to talk about next week on I Love Photography. So for Sarah Jacobs, this is Alan Murabayashi signing off. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.